As the year progresses, there is something I would like to share for you to see a little bit of improvement in everything you do. I hope that helps for you to see and take certain steps, which I'm going to explain, if that makes sense to you. Now, basically, typically, in the past, the present, and the future, I'm going to say the same thing. What matters most is the time what you have right in front of you. That is the 24 hours which is given to you when you wake up every day in the morning. Now, there are four categories during the day. I split that. I mean, you don't have to worry about those, what are those four categories, but I typically divide that into habits, health, learning, and earning. Now, you can subcategorize things which is most important to you. Obviously, you're not going to put all your energy in 100 things, but at the same time, if you have the four top categories, pretty much we always spend 90, I would say 70% of the people, or 80% of the people, doing some kind of work in their profession, working for someone or business, so on and so forth. So if you categorize those four areas, which I always start with the habits. Now, in my category, I would say, I would like to spend some time in meditation. As I said, it can be starting with 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, and depends on how you want to take further. The second simple thing that I wanted to putting in practice is waking up early. Say, if you're an early riser for whatever the reasons, which is a good start. But I used to get up at 6. Sometimes you get lazy. Sometimes you probably, it depends on when you go to sleep late. And then obviously you're, going to take more rest. We can't do things forcefully, but at the same time, you can start as a discipline, as long as you have 7 to 8 hours of sleep, which is required. Even a lot of scientific studies say you must have 7 to 8 hours a good night's sleep, which can give you wonderful results for your health, first of all, and the clarity you might have, and so on and so forth. If you don't have a good sleep, pretty much everything affects the entire day, the next day. If you happen to experience those things, I'm sure you understand what I'm saying. But good 7 to 8 hours sleep. I used to, thought that, okay, I need to get up early. It is good, but you don't need to get up forcefully every day with the alarm clock. For me, actually, I don't know, somehow my body got adjusted. As long as I sleep a good 7.5 hours, I automatically wake up. So if I go to the bed pretty much 10 o'clock in the night, and then I'm up latest by 6 o'clock, and I have enough routines that I can do first thing in the morning for a couple of hours. I would say easily I spend about 2 hours of doing my basic things which normally energizes me, and then take my day in a different forms. So waking up, taking good rest, and waking up if you can by 6 o'clock or 5:30 or 5, but making sure that you have a good sleep of 7 to 8 hours without fail. And you don't have to forcefully get up. If you say if you're sleeping for whatever the reasons at 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock in the morning, it could be for many reasons. You don't have to forcefully wake up at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. in the morning, which is not going to help you anyways. So thinking that 7 to 8 hours sleep is good, but at the same time, if that can happen by 5 o'clock, I mean, you're fresh and you get up and then you need to build that muscle. So I always keep a target of at least between 5:30 to 6 o'clock is what I wanted to get up, and then I'm pushing myself towards that limit. And there is the chanting and some kind of breathing exercises I do. So I put those in a habits formation. And coming to the health, I do, pretty much Surya Namaskar is about 4 to 5 minutes, and then about 5 to 10 minutes of intense aerobic things, which I don't need to go to the gym. You don't need to go to the gym for those things. You can do the push-ups, you can do the jumping jacks, you can do the sit-ups, and you can do some stretches, as long as you do something for your body moving first thing in the morning, about 5 to 10 minutes. Then very often, I always covered that fasting thing as well. I try to do every 15 days, 24 hours, or at least 18 hours fasting. So once in a month, at least I do twice fasting of 24 hours. That is something that I decided I wanted to do it. Sometimes I'm not meeting that, but then I'm making sure that I'm in line with that one as long as I have those four things I wanted to do during a period of month. So I keep that as a health and a fourth steps and a learning, There is something that you always must invest on learning in a different forms, As I said in my previous videos, there's so many things available for free, but you need to understand because there's so much of information. You cannot just keep going as and when algorithms suggest you some videos. You started with something and you end up with something else. You need to have a clear idea on what you wanted to educate yourself. Say for example, in terms of finances, so find those channels which you might like and follow those channels and try to learn or dedicating like 10 to 15 minutes or 20 to 30 minutes on whichever that. But some point of the 30 minutes, if you decided, you have to make sure to work on that 30 minutes on, say for example, subject on a finance. That is something that you really need to uh, build that muscle. Or it's only for 10 minutes, or listening to the podcasts, or listening to some audiobooks, reading some books. So I always spread the learning on four things as I speak. There are two audios I always listen, and I always watch anything related to the finance which comes, because that is something, the subject which I'm exploring, which I'm keep educating myself pretty much into the personal finances and so on and so forth. And something new, so that learning curve has to be always. That's why I, whenever I read, and then if something inspires me, I always make a video or post on Instagram, or put something on my LinkedIn, so on and so forth. So pretty much I have focus on learning. Now, when I have the checklist of these four things, maybe today I might not be able to, for whatever the reasons, complete those things. But when I have a checklist in front of me every day, maybe if I miss, say, for example, listening to that financial stuff for whatever the reasons, probably my busy schedule for something catches up. But as long as I have that, okay, last 3-4 days I didn't catch up this, there is some time I need to find a way to catch those things up. Because see, then again, you really need to define what is key and what is important, and what is that something that you wanted to get learning or educated is something that you need to ask yourself and define those things and spend that the smallest to the smallest, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes during the day. But the consistency is what matters. So as I said, I follow the two paid channels which I'm going through, and then I'm getting educated and getting a lot of information through it. And then I definitely normally go through the YouTube sometime. And reading books is something that I got habituated. I have to read something, and I have a lot of books and Kindle and an e-format which I normally go through a couple of pages a day, and that is something to do the learning part. Now comes to the earning part. Now, pretty much all of us know, as I had mentioned early on, we pretty much spend 8 to 10 hours of working, either in your business, personal, professional, working for something. So the major energy takes from where you're working, which is fair enough. But at the same time, uh, you know, I have like 2-3 things. I like to write blogs, and I spend time writing because that is something that I like doing it. And then I'm spending like 10 to 20, 30 minutes every day. As I said, all 30 days is not probably possible because whatever the reasons. But as long as I have these things, okay, out of 30 days, if I manage to do 10 days or 12 days, so when I look at a checklist, I would be able to see, okay, there are tick marks. Yes, I'll be very proud, but there are some things which I didn't do. I can go back and do it. For example, in the earning category, I put as a work, writing, and pretty much making the YouTube videos as and when I can, something really strike me to spread the message. And I always try to post whichever inspired me again in Instagram. So as I said, those things are not immediately giving me any returns, or my first priority is the work where I work, and then I put a lot of energy and things what I need to do. But once my work is done, whenever I have time during the weekends, or during some part of the time during the day when I have a free time, when I reach home, I always see how I can fit in those posting a time for a one Instagram post for say for example something to do with the motivation. It takes like not more than 10-15 minutes, by the way, but as long as you're continuously doing it. And pretty much I make YouTube videos on weekends and try to edit, if I get time or in the coming times. So you really need to stretch yourself. And this is some checklist I normally follow, which I, over a period of time, I thought, I said, something is really not going well. I do something for some time and then I stop it and then I continue doing it. So as long as you have a clear goal before starting the month, say for example for 30 days in a 4 categories, it could be there are in a habits you wanted to start with 2, health related you wanted to start with 2, learning say 2, and earning. So if you have like say 10 things which you pretty much, as I said, you don't need to be doing those in hours and hours. It could be 10 minutes, 5 minutes, and that's where you need to strengthen your muscle for you to do better in the area where you want to improve. That sums up, how you want to see your productivity. As I said, the miracles are not going to happen as long as you do immediately. But if you build this muscle, coming years ahead, I'm sure you're going to see a development within yourself, because the way you're going to feel yourself about how you're progressing, be it in a health, wealth, and in many aspects, which can give you a positive momentum. And I'm sure when you look back, say 2022 or 2023, you'll be very positive and optimistic about how far you progressed, and looking at how much you can go further as long as you stretch your limits. The same time you had in the past, the same time what you have today, and it will be the same time as long as you take your breathing. And but unfortunately, fortunately, if you don't allocate your time on the things what you want to achieve today, the time is today, not tomorrow, not yesterday, not 10 years from now. Whatever you do today matters. Now, if you had to do 2 things, focus on those 2 things. If you had to stress that to the 4 5 things, stretch that, but make it a point that you review time to time and see how far you progressed, where you are, where you want to be, and what's the gap in between. So I hope that helps for you to put certain things in place for you to see successful 2021 and much more in coming years ahead. Stay well, stay blessed, and I hope that helps for you to do better in what you do. Keep doing, and talk to you soon. Bye bye. Thanks.